everyone. It is late. It's 3:35 a.m. where I'm from, in my neck of the town or the woods. And earlier I was gonna pull some cards about the full moon, but I got tired. I was like, oof. So I went to sleep a little early, and I'm waking up a little early. I've been waking up in the middle of the night lately. Ooh, Two of Pentacles with the World, like that. And we're just gonna see what's coming up, what's going down, what's happening. I'm gonna do it the long way, not the long way. When I put all the cards out, I'll go 3 layers deep to get the clarifiers. And I did want to start with just one of these. And then maybe I'll end with another one. I think I'll do that. Just to see what's up, just to see what's happening. Okay, that was quick. Well, this one is face down, so I guess I'll wait until they all come out. So I'm gonna do the Celtic cross style. I think I did it. Yeah, I did it in the self-read video. So the left is gonna be the past, the under, and I'm going looking for a Taurus since it's a Taurus. So yeah, the Hierophant since it's a full moon in Taurus. I'm going looking for. Sorry, y'all. So under the moon. Am I looking for the moon? Okay, I'll go looking for the moon because that's what popped into my mind, and I don't really feel that the Hierophant is the card I should be looking for. So I'll go looking for the moon. Under the moon will be underlying. To the left is to my left. Past, right, future. Above is overlying. And then I'll do the us, environment, and then the hopes and fears. And I'm not going to do an outcome because, well, kind of, I don't have room for it, but also I'm not really into outcomes. Poisonly. And I think I will timestamp when all the cards are actually on the table. And I'm going to pull from the bottom. So we have the Page of Cups with the Four of Swords and the Ace of Swords being the first 3 cards out. Page of Cups, Four of Swords, Ace of Swords. I feel like this is about breathing into a new energy. Heart first. And then there's another page. Oh, these are nice. You is nice. Straight. And that's okay. Ooh, 10 of Cups, 6 of Wands, 10 of Wands. Something that we want to start, that it's almost this energy of like, and there's the moon. That was so quick. I don't know why breathe on me just popped into my mind. Breathe on me. Or whatever. Breathe on me. I was about to say something, but I forgot what it was. Oh, it's almost this energy of like once you go somewhere, you're gonna like whatever's there. King of Cups, the Emperor, yeah, those have been. There's a very watery energy with the Emperor right now. And the shadow side. But the Emperor's turning his back on the shadow side in favor of the King of Cups. There could be this energy of emotionally not dealing, numbing, distracting, quote unquote coping, in not quite healthy ways. But it ends up forming a dependency. We end up forming a dependency on something because it helps us avoid something else that we can't face. And I'm of the personal belief that like life is hard, and whatever we do, we do. That's the Lovers. The Ten of Cups, the Lovers, and the Ten of Wands. I thought that was the Six of Wands. I don't know why I thought that was the Six of Wands, but here's the Six of Wands right here. But I was gonna say it's like this energy of something that we're gonna love, right? It's like, oh, you're gonna love this. Like, just come here. But we don't know what we're gonna see when we go there. Ooh, all the kings in the top row, besides the King of Wands. Okay. Well, then there's the King of Wands. So all of the kings came out within, like, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9 cards of each other. And the Emperor is there. Bell. And the Emperor is there as well. That's interesting. I'm turning that one face down so I remember where the Moon card is, because I always forget. The Magician is sitting on top of the Empress. Temperance is sitting on top of the Hierophant, and the Five of Wands is sitting on top of the Three of Swords. So yeah, there's an energy of something that we've been avoiding for a hot minute. Page of Pentacles, Queen of Wands, and Karma is about building something brand new that really speaks to who we are, where our pride doesn't get in the way of our expression or experience of the thing, right? There's a lot of cover up energy and a need to let it go and to face the scary stuff. There's that Page of Swords. I didn't get to finish talking about the Page of Swords earlier. I saw him earlier. I was like, it feels like brand new information. It feels like a new way of going about something. It feels like change. Knight of Swords. It's left at the bottom. At the top of the deck, because I'm curious, is the Four of Wands, the Six of Swords, and the Two of Swords. And since I pulled from the bottom, these are kind of like the top. Four of Wands, Six of Swords, Two of Swords. Which leaves us in an Eight of Swords state where we want to move forward, but we are not sure how or that we can. So then we clean this up. So this, hey, I've been seeing the Chariot a lot lately. We'll come here, and then these three will also take. Everything else goes away. Give me 1 second. I do need to focus, because if I don't, I'll mess it up. I do it like every time. Hey, look, there's an Eight of Swords. Queen of Cups, Eight of Swords, Ace of Wands. Four of Wands. I feel like with the Six of Swords, it's like we know we need to move on from something, but we're not quite ready yet. And we could sail on to calmer water. Yep, Hangman. Hangman with the Knight of Swords, and then these three. So now we rearrange this even more. This comes over here. Oops. There we go. Alright. I was like, is that only 2 cards? No, it's 3. And so I would say that we're in this 4 of Wands energy right now, clarified by the 6 of Swords and the 2 of Swords. Because the card actually came out on the first row. So the first row, there are kind of sort of layers to this. Kind of sort of. Sometimes I just read them as they are. But with the moon coming out in the first row, that's the past most row. The second, or the first layer, second layer, third layer is the future most layer, first layer is the past most, and then the middle is the middle, right? Somewhere in between. The moon came out in the past most layer. Full moon in Taurus. Taurus is all about comfort. Almost like creature comforts. And so, again, like I was saying earlier, it's almost like, oh, let me timestamp this. Let me do the timestamp really quick before I forget. I'll say this is like 11:45, 11:50. Into the car. Oops, cards. 11:50. There we go. So Taurus is all about creature comforts. It's all about where we feel most comfortable. And I was actually talking kind of sort of about that lately, because my grandma is a Taurus and one of my brothers is a Taurus, and we were talking about, like, because I live in a fairly small town, and there aren't necessarily a lot of things happening, I guess. And I was like, yeah, like, who wants to stay here? And then my mom was like, well, your grandma does, and my little brother does. And I was like, yeah, but they're Tauruses. It's just like, what does that mean? I was like, it can be easy to get to stay where we're familiar. And it's not even necessarily always comfortable, it's just familiar, right? With the opposite of Taurus being Scorpio, Scorpio being a little bit more of that unknown, what lies beyond this, behind the beneath, what lies beneath the surface type of energy. And I feel like it's not that Taurus isn't that deep, but it's like if Scorpio is like pleasure, Taurus is like comfort or luxury. It's like lounging. And with this coming out in the past, hold up, I'm gonna fan these out. I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. I'll just put them on top. There we go. Yeah. Ooh. 10 of Cups in this deck got a little wet, and I was drying the cards, or a lot of wet. It got a lot of wet. And I was drying the cards, and that's the only card I accidentally took some of the, oof. Okay. Ink off of, card off of. Okay, there we go. So with us being rooted more in the past, and again with this, there being this energy of needing to release things, it's like I was saying, of if one of our coping mechanisms renders us incapable of actually working through or solving what ails us, we will continue to ache indefinitely because we never take care of it. And it isn't always about comfortability, sometimes it's about familiarity. And whatever we've I feel like there's this energy of things that we've mistaken. It's like we've mistaken comfort and familiarity because it feels like a situation that we're not truly comfortable with, but it's familiar to us. And because we have, instead of doing anything about it, we've made ourselves comfortable with it. But to move forward, and I feel like it is to move forward, because that's why when the high priestess, or around the high priestess, it was like spirits, like there's something that you're going to come across that you're really going to like. But to get it, you're going to have to stop doing whatever it is that you're doing that prevents you really from getting any forward movement and momentum. And things may get uncomfortable, and I feel like that's what this Eight of Swords is. It's this between, like, I didn't mean to pick up all three of these, but okay. Between moving and not moving. Oops. Well, that's not the one. Well, hey, I like that. We're moving forward. We're leaving the indecision behind. Oh, and I wanted to read this as well. And then we'll get another one. It's a complete restructuring of home, a breathtaking sight that redefines beauty and allowing one's soul to breathe. The Three of Spades is the card that came out. And I feel that, yes, because that's what this is. With the complete restructuring of home, again, it's like we've introduced comfort to this area of familiarity. And like, here's the Three and the Four of Swords, and between the Three and the Four is the Lovers. Here's the Seven and the Eight of Cups. There's no 9, and we go to the 10. But between the 7 and the 10 is the Moon. The Eight of Cups and the Nine of Cups is about us leaving one thing behind to go after what it is that we truly desire. And again, there's this energy of like, once you see this, you're going to love it. But to get it, it's going to require you to begin to do things that you haven't been doing, or to begin to actually move away from things of the past. And over here, it's like our mind with this Gemini energy, it's stuck between the past and maybe not even necessarily the future. Could be stuck between the past and the present. But again, all of this is the past most energy. It also feels like something that we've grown beyond, but we haven't allowed ourselves to see that we've grown beyond it. Like right off the bat, we're looking at the past. We're looking at something that we're viewing as a missed opportunity. It's like we missed this opportunity for a reason. We were seeking many things to fill a void over the loss of something or the lack of comfort, and trying to build a home on a land that was not stable. Like, I just watched Night of the Demons last night, or I guess the night before last, technically. And it was like, there was this house, it was a funeral home, and she was possessed. And they were like, what's the difference between being haunted and possessed? And the girl was like, Angela, she was like, when it's haunted, that's a spirit that was human. When it's possessed, it's a spirit that's never existed in human form. It's never incarnated in its pure evil, girl. They're demons. There's a difference between ghosts and demons. And the place was possessed. And there's almost this energy of like not knowing what it means to be human because it was never human. And as an organic living being, we mature and we grow and we evolve. And it's like maybe we've done that in other areas, but we're still stunted in this one because of what happened. And we're constantly trying to find peace in the situation. but never bringing peace to the situation. And that's where the moon is. It's almost like it's traveling back to yesterday to shine a light on the path in front of us today, to direct and guide us to this future. But eventually the sun's going to have to come up. So let's get into this. Present energies are clarified by the Three of Cups and the Ten of Swords. This is ego death to get to the space of reunion. And again, I just saw the Three of Cups lately, didn't I? Excuse me, I believe last time I used this deck. So maybe it wasn't on this channel, I don't remember. But the Three of Cups reunion, this reunion and reconciliation, it could be with the person, but it's not even about that. It's about us, again, getting to us growing beyond this, us evolving, us changing, and then from that evolved space coming back. And I think that's why the Ten of Swords here, when it comes to temperance and when it comes to divine timing, sometimes it's not a matter of time, it's a matter of work. It's a matter of how much you grow, a matter of how much you evolve, how much you change, how much of the past you can put behind you, and how much of the future you can align to. And once you align to this, that's when you experience it. It's not like, oh, I need to wait a year or 2 years or 3 years. And if we're coping to the point where it's distracting us and we're not doing what it is that we need to do, tomorrow is always going to be tomorrow. And, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creep in this petty pace from day to day, and all our yesterdays have but lighted fools the way to dusty death. Because we're not doing anything. And being human is hard. Having traumatic things or even unfortunate things happen to you is not easy. And I feel like Spirit understands that. But at the same time, like I said, if we're organic, if we're alive, it's for us to grow and to heal and to evolve and to change over time. Everything changes. And it's when you stop changing, you're dead. That final decomposition process, when your consciousness isn't even in the body anymore. So consciously, it's like as soon as you stop changing, you're out of the game. Because that's the name of the game down here. And it's finally going back to stick a pin in it, put a stake in it, and then to move on, free of whatever it is that's holding us down. So in the underlying, we have the Eight of Cups clarified by the Eight of Wands and the Five of Cups. I guess I could show the Eight of Cups as well. And this shows us like wishing on stars, but not really going anywhere. With the Eight of Wands and the Five of Cups, it's teaching us that to move forward, we really have to not only let go of the past, but it's almost like we also have to let go of what that past enforced within us. In the past, we have the Seven of Cups clarified by the Page of Swords and the Seven of Swords. And this is saying that, like, we formed these habits, and again, this is in the energy, it's all about not actually facing our problems. It's like there's this constant need to cope. And with the energies being what they are right now, you may be needing to cope lately here more and more and more because it's coming to the surface to be addressed. It's coming to the surface to be released. It's coming to the surface to be let go of. And it teaches us this movement. It teaches us this flow and this mobility. It has the ability to teach us those things, but you can't move forward looking back. Like I said, I was watching Night of the Demons. And there was this one point in the movie, one of the character like backs into this room, and I'm like, okay, girl, I know that something frightening is on the other side of the door, But horrors are popping up all over this place. When are you going to turn around and look at the room that you're in right now? Because you may not be able to stay in the room that you've backed yourself into thinking that you were getting some kind of peace. When we move forward, and that's another thing, it's like our attention is divine. And there have been so many things that are happening and have been happening that may be a little hard to look at. And for some people, it may be hard for them to reconcile that part of their reality or part of the world that they live in is the way it is. And I said it a while ago. It was like the veil is being lifted on a lot of things. And if we are putting the veil over our eyes again, it's not going to serve us in the long run. Because before you can get to where it is that you're going, there are things that you have to address and change. And if we never address them, we never get where it is that we're going. And then we're confused or upset that we're stuck. But it's like we're stuck because, again, time itself is not the solution. The work is. The state of being that you reach or attain or achieve is what will trigger the next event. Right? It's like if there's this chemical reaction, you can have the two sort of things in the same space, but if they never interact, you're never going to get what it is that you want. And that's where catalysts come in. That's where the number 3 comes in to, in some ways, instigate, in other ways, encourage a transformation. But the thing itself is not transformed. So maybe it is a little bit more of a 5 because it feels like with the 5, everything has changed. Everything is different. And it's like something changes you, and because you have changed, you change something. And that's the energy that we're in right now. Our attention is divine. But when we refuse to give our attention to things that we want to change or things that we want to get through, it limits our ability to change them. Because it's like, how can you change or how can you work on what you won't even face? And so here's this energy in the past with the 7 of Swords of distracting ourselves from what needs to happen rather than facing it with the Page of Swords. And I feel like it's the Page of Swords rather than the Knight, the King, or the Queen, because we don't yet feel experienced enough or mature enough. Maybe we don't know if we can handle whatever it is that this blue moon is going to be bringing up, or that everything has been blinking up, that everything has been bringing up as Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter were retrograde in Capricorn. And it's like on a collective level, it's about these infractions, I guess, in the infrastructure. It's about these things, these holes in the armor, these breaks in the chain that keep the foundation from being steady, sturdy, and stable enough to build more on top of it. But it's also been happening in our personal lives. Our own personal foundations have been tested and tried this year. And there are things that probably need to be addressed and changed. But again, without that attention, how is anything supposed to happen? It's like, I can't remember what it is. They kind of sort of attribute it to Schrodinger's cat, and it's like, you put a cat and poison in a box, and until you open the box, you don't know if the cat is alive or dead. They even talk about it in quantum physics, right? Whenever we observe a particle, even if we're not doing anything to it, the fact that we're observing it means that it behaves differently than it would had we not. It's like a child who is acting out of line or who's getting into something when you're not paying attention to it. And there have been these things that are festering below the surface because it hurts too much, it's too inconvenient, or it's not fun, it doesn't make us feel good. And without that attention, they've been running amok. But even if we can do something as simple as give it attention, that alone is enough for it to begin to change and to be changed. And that's, again, that's what this Page of Swords versus the Seven of Swords is. It's like you can cope and run away as you always have and be basically stuck, stagnant, not make any forward movement, or you can address it no matter how unqualified or ill-equipped you feel. Now in the future is this Ten of Cups energy, clarified by the Chariot and the Eight of Pentacles. I feel like that is, excuse me, it's like us, you got to get your permit. Well, first you take, well, at least here in the US, first you take behind the wheel, you take rules of the road, stuff like that. Then you get your permit, and then you get your license. And depending on where you're from, you have a certain, like a trial license for a certain period or certain amount of time, and then you get a full license. This is like that because it's like if we can't even address the things within our power to address, how are we ever supposed to hope to make it to anything bigger or greater than this? You don't start driving in a what, 8-wheeler, 16-wheeler, 14-wheeler. You don't. Your first car typically isn't a monster truck. It's like you start small, and that's why, at least again here in the States, there's a difference. Like you have to have a CDL, a commercial driving license, to drive a semi truck, because driving a semi is different than driving a car. And the bigger the vehicle, the bigger your blind spots. And so it is almost kind of sort of this. I'll leave this behind because that's how I was feeling it. It's not that it's baiting you, but again, there's that energy of like you're gonna see something that you really like, but to get there, you're gonna have to walk away. Whatever your self-destructive is what popped into my mind, and maybe they didn't start as self-destructive habits, but if they keep you from making the necessary changes in your life to make your life better or to put you in a better position, they are self-destructive. Or at least like self-stagnating. It's like you see something that you really want, but it's going to require movement. And the movement, it's a practice movement. And that addresses this, like, Eight of Cups underlying influence itself. Because it's about learning to navigate the challenges and the trials of life. It's about learning to overcome. This is about learning to overcome. And before we can overcome societally and as a collective, we have to know how to overcome as individuals. And if you can't even get over your own stuff, then it's like, how are you supposed to show up and help us get over our collective stuff? The stuff that has the potential to affect you less, that you have less control over. And again, it's like and it's not necessarily one for one, but for the sake of how it's coming, we're just going to go this way, okay? If you can't even like ride a bicycle, if riding a bicycle stresses you out, then how are you expecting yourself to feel comfortable behind the wheel of something bigger? Practice makes perfect. Steady effort and dedication becomes movement. That's the lesson. That's the energy of the Knight of Pentacles. And with the Four of Cups being the overall, clarified by the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords, this is us no longer accepting the things that we can't change. It's not accepting the things that we can't change. It's not receiving. It's like it's not buying into empty promises. It's not being tricked. It's not receiving these empty things. Because we know better. Because we're in a fulfilled space within ourselves. And I was talking about this. I was a guest on the Chad Tarot podcast with the Tarot Heidi today. And that's another thought that I didn't complete. But she said that it's part of her mission to help people love people. And I was like, that's a big calling. And by big, I mean it's important. Because I feel like so many of the issues we have is because we don't. What did I say? She said it was part of her mission to help people love themselves. That's what she said. I don't remember if I said that right. And I was like, that's big because I feel like so much of why we buy into or why we fall into or why it's so hard is because we don't love ourselves. And then we're threatened or intimidated or upset with people who do. Or we're upset with people who have things that we don't have. And I feel like it's being in a position to no longer accept things that don't really serve us because we are more whole within ourselves. We're not missing anything. We're not lacking anything. I was talking to somebody else the other day. No, it was also yesterday. When it was like sometimes, and this energy actually came up recently somewhere. It was like, devil energy will try to sell you what is already rightfully yours. And I told him, I was like, you know what? Like, you can't sell me what's already mine. It's mine. I don't have to pay for it. Hello, it's mine. It's free. And it's almost this energy right here. The underlying cause is us knowing how to navigate the difficulties of life and to limit the amount of things, unseen factors that drive us from the dark, and to also come into this space where we're not so easy to give up or give our power away to things and to label them as inconquerable or insurmountable because of what we perceive that power difference to be. But the energy of the Hierophant is nothing but a collective of individuals. It's a collective of individuals who have given their consent, their power, their voice to that Hierophant, and it amplifies that, but it's like there's a strength in numbers type of energy when it comes to the Hierophant. And if there are no numbers, there is no strength. This is about us reclaiming our own strength. We're sitting in this space now of the Three of Swords, clarified by the Five of Wands and the Five of Pentacles. Self-love is an act of defiance in a world that creates and benefits off of people who, again, don't love themselves in some way, who will buy into anything just to experience a little bit of what is already innate and within them. And again, there is this understanding, I feel, of how difficult it can be to move forward because of what it is that we've experienced, and because maybe it's all that we've experienced with that King of Pentacles. Maybe because the King of Pentacles is fixed earth, right? Maybe we've had this single solitary line of experiences. We've been on one track, on the same page, under the same narrative over and over. But the Queen of Swords is about recognizing the truth that that's not all that life has to offer. That's not the only way that life is. But again, when we're in a space of coping to the point of not addressing what it is that we need to address, and when we're in this space of holding fast to what we already believe, we don't allow the world to show us anything any different. And without that attention, we don't allow things to change. There's also a need in here to change what we focus on and how we focus on it. There are quite a few swords here. No, maybe not. We got the Ten of Swords here, 7 in the page here. the queen up there, 3 of swords here. The bottom of the deck, we got the 6 of swords and the 2 of swords. So yeah, we're pretty swords dominant. The 4 of swords right here. Everything is here so far except for the ace, the 8, and the 9. We got the 2, the 3, the 4. The 5 is in here. The 6, the 7, the 10, the page, and the queen. And again, I feel like that's why this page of swords is here. It's because we don't necessarily feel confident or comfortable addressing these things. But to continue to do so is to make these choices and decisions that don't serve us. In our environment is the Lovers with the 7 of Wands and the King of Wands. Again, in the environment, there's this energy almost of things making decisions for you. Your decisions are made for you. When you aren't in control of these things, and when you're not even able to or willing to face these things, your decisions are made for you. You have no decision-making power of your own. Whatever distracts you, whatever keeps you going, whatever, it's like with the 7 of Cups especially, it's like you're in this hallway of many doors, and only one of them is an exit. But the exit is in like the darkest part of the hallway, right? And it's dark for whatever reason it is dark in your life. And it's like you continue to manifest these other doors, or these other doors come and you're like, oh, I'll take that door. It's like you will go up and down flights and flights and flights of stairs, avoiding this one door that is the exit. Just going for anything and everything that gets you further from the energy of addressing whatever it is that you need to address. And again, when you're in that energy, your decisions are made for you. It's like, here's something else to distract you with. Here's something else. Here's something else. And something else. And with the 7 of Cups in the past, we always took it. And because we always took it, it kept us in this space of not being able to grow and mature from anything but a page, number 1. But it also kept us from what it is that we truly want. Like, the system doesn't benefit really when you love yourself, when you don't need anything, when you're good, when you're Gucci, when you're fine. Because then it can't really sell you anything. And with the King of Wands, it's like it's appealing to your ego. And with this, what was it? The 7, with the 7 of Wands, it keeps you on the defensive. Keeps you running away from, keeps you from seeing, keeps you from working through whatever it is that you need to work through to reach this point where you can be a whole within yourself and you can really have the power of decision making. And I feel like it reminds me of the Bandersnatch episode of Dark Mirror, the interactive episode of Dark Mirror, where he's making that video game and he's like, it's all about convincing the player that they have choice, but in reality, it's already mapped out for them. Like, you already know what it is that they're going to do. Like, if they can't even look at A, they're never going to choose A. So if you offer them A and B, they'll choose B. And then if you offer them A and C, they'll choose C. If you offer them A and D, they'll choose D. And you can walk people all the way through the alphabet from B to Z because they'll never choose A. And it's also like that scene in The Devil Wears Prada about the cerulean sweater. She's like, oh, you think you made that choice? Oh, you went to some whatever shop, and no doubt to like the discount or the bargain or the clearance rack or bin, and you picked that blue sweater out, and like you didn't know that that's not blue or blue or turquoise or teal or whatever. It's actually cerulean, and it was this person who introduced cerulean this, and then cerulean that, and then there was a cerulean boom, and eventually the trend moved on. Cerulean fell out of flavor. Cerulean fell out of favor, and then it ended up discounted where you got it. And you think that you made that choice, but in reality, that choice was made for you by people in this very room. But you don't see that. There's this energy here of not being in the position to make our own choices, really, because of what we hold on to. This energy of being led because of what we refuse to acknowledge or accept. And I feel like that's what really keeps us enslaved as humanity. It's not necessarily, oh, like the government is doing this and this is a distraction and that's an illusion. It's the fact that we don't face things that we're not comfortable with. And as long as we're uncomfortable, we'll buy into whatever makes us comfortable. It makes us predictable. It makes us controllable. It makes us easy to manage. It makes us pride and prey. And that's where the control lies. That's how they control you. It isn't necessarily like the things that you see up front. It's the things that you're not addressing on the back end. And that's why self-love is such an act of defiance. And then in the hopes and fears position, we have the Four of Swords clarified by the Emperor and the Queen of Wands. I love it. The King of Wands in the environment, the Queen of Wands, and the hopes and fears. Because with the King of Wands, it is a show. It's a performance. It's Leo energy. It's fixed fire. It's like, if I do this, I will be seen as that. And because I'm seen like that, people will respect me. But with the Queen of Wands, it's like that's the energy of us respecting ourselves. And we project ourselves out as someone to respect because we respect ourselves. But with the King of Wands energy, it's like it's the other way around. It's like we project ourselves as someone worthy and deserving of respect, hoping to feel it on the inside, but that's not how it works. That's the thing about the skin. The skin protects the internal from the external. The skin is the boundary and the separation between the internal and the external. You can't receive anything external to you hoping to fill it internally. That's not how it works. It's all about projection. And I talked recently about like there's this feminine energy that is receptive, there's this masculine energy that is expressive, and in between there are these blanks, these things that are just ready to be projected onto. And it's different than receptive energy because with receptive energy it breaches and goes to the internal. But with the blank, it's like beauty is only skin deep, it's surface level. There's nothing of substance there. Taurus is all about substance. And that's another differentiation kind of sort of between that scorpionic pleasure and that Taurus pleasure. With Taurus, it's something of substance. It's something that will put weight on you, right? Food. With Scorpio, a lot of times it's interesting because Scorpio is such a deep energy, but it goes after such surface level pleasures. And that's one reason why, or not one reason, but we see the energy of that play out where it's like Taurus is your money and Scorpio is other people's money. And again, it's like it's interesting because you would think that, with Venus being Venus, that she'd be a little bit more vain. So Taurus would go after the surface level pleasures, and that Scorpio, being the depths of what it is and being that Martian energy, it would go after things that, excuse me, are more substantial, but it's flipped. Because a lot of times Scorpio doesn't face its own depths. And it's like it lives under the water, but it plays at the surface. And here with the Emperor and the Queen of Wands, what we're aspiring to is this autonomy, is this sovereignty of the self. But again, as long as we're not willing to face what is difficult or scary or unsettling, we're never going to be in the space of having any real authority over our own lives. We're always going to be ready to buy into whatever the next person is selling us. Because again, if you never choose A, it's like if you never pick an even number. That's easier because then we get to progress, right? You only pick what's odd because, I don't know, there's a fear of commitment or stability or something there. So it's like, we start at 1 or 2 and you pick 1 because you're afraid of even numbers. And then it's 3 or 4 and you pick 3 because you're afraid of even numbers. And then you pick, it's like 5 or 6 and you pick 5 because you're afraid of even numbers. And then it's 7 or 8 and you pick 7 because you're afraid of even numbers. You can go through life thinking that you're making all of these choices and all of these decisions, but in reality, you will never pick an even number. So everything you're presented with, the decision is already made. You've already made the decision before you even know that you've made it or why you've made it. And that's the energy of the 8 of Swords, the 2 plus the 6 of Swords. Bring this 8 of Swords when we have this 4 of Wands opportunity here. And again, it's like as long as we're not willing to face those things, we will continue to be a slave to them. And we can look back on the past and we can say, oh, I'd never do this, or I'd never do that, or I would never fall into this, or like I'm too whatever. And it's like, yeah, hindsight is 2020. How are you repeating that same energy now in a different way, in a more subtle way, accepting the things that you can't change? And it's like we get so comfortable accepting the things that we can't change that we begin to lose sight of the things that we actually can. But that's what the energy of this moon is. That's what it's bringing up. That's what it's illuminating. That's what it's highlighting. That's what it's asking you to address. That's going to be the key to moving forward. And again, the moon, I feel like a lot of times, more often than not, when I do this, the card typically comes out in the second or the third layer. It's either present or future focus, but it's all the past. It's these blockages and boundaries and barriers projected from the past. And every time we face them, we cope. We run, we shop, we drink, we smoke, we play video games, we seek another reader, we seek something else, someone else outside of ourselves, instead of facing and addressing what it is for us to face and address in the moment, at the moment. And this year has been full of things that we need to address and face. And the more you run away from yourself, probably the more you've run away from everything else. Maybe not necessarily. But again, here's the preceding energy right here. It's a complete restructuring of home and allowing one's soul to breathe. A complete restructuring, not a partial, not like, oh, like we don't go to that room because that's where the monsters live. we leave all of the closets as is because of the monsters in the closet. We leave all of the rugs on the floor because, all of the things that we swept under them we don't want to see. And it's like, well, how are you going to remodel if you don't pull up any rugs or like take out any closets? So like, what does that leave us? I don't know. Okay, that's way too much, but let's see where we're ending this. Please. I'll just pick one. I'm feeling this one actually. Fueling the growing fire of truth, creating space for a miracle, delving inside to go beyond. Yeah, that's it. That's this exactly. Fueling the growing fire of truth, going inside to go beyond. Because again, here, as long as we're seeking it outside of ourselves, we continue to seek it outside of ourselves with the Lovers. It's only when we make these decisions and stand from this place of internal stability, truth, and power that we can find any rest or respite in this world that offers so much heartache and heartbreak. And even when it doesn't, it does. And it's like you can distract yourself with the unicorns and the rainbows, but not every day is going to be like that. And you'll actually get more days like that in reality when you face what you need to face. So that's what this moon is bringing. These moons aren't the nicest. Then we have the Knight of Swords and the Hangman again at the bottom. I'm gonna get a final message and then wrap this up. The veil is thinnest. The veil has been thin all year. Trying to lift the veil of ignorance, but people's like, oh, put it on, put it on, put it on, put it on. Oh, it's all an illusion. It's all fake. It's not real until it happens to you. Then it's like, why is no one listening? This is such a big deal. Blah 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 blah. Like, it's like, okay, well, why weren't you listening before it happened to you personally? Why didn't you care? Because we're incapable. We run too much to care. Honestly. But, you know, in order for us to get where we're going, that needs to change. Final message from this deck, please, from the Witch's Tarot. As I put these away, any last words? Knight of Wands and the Two of Swords. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Pentacles. It takes time, energy, and effort to break habits. And nothing is finished yet. Nothing is yet set in stone. Things can still be rewritten if we begin to choose the even numbers and we pick option A and stop running away. The Two of Swords actually came out earlier today on my other channel, and it was all about us holding our own body of knowledge and wisdom that results from the experiences that we've accumulated, that have accumulated as a result of our experience, against what it is that the divine is telling us, and being in this position, in this state of impasse, because we can't fully trust without knowing and without seeing. They say that seeing is believing, but to believe, sometimes you have to believe before you can even see it. Because if you don't believe it, you won't take it as it is. Alright, well, whatever is lost is lost. Whatever doesn't appear, doesn't appear. Ooh, ba-da-ba-da. Ooh, ooh. Alright. Oh, that was super quick. Okay, so we have a favorable turn of fortune, a powerful message duly received. 17, 10, 10, 8, 5, 1. That's the Seven of Hearts. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Spades. It says rearrangement and coagulation, seeing the truth of the self, distorted creations abound. Rearrangement and coagulation is interesting. Seeing the truth of the self and distorted creations abound. I'm going to see what the Seven of Hearts is real quick, and then I'll let you go. And that's interesting, because people talk about how we are these sovereign beings. We have the spark of the divine within us, and the divine is the creator. It is of the divine to create. But when you're not in control of yourself, or when you're running from your shadows and fears, the things that you create, have the potential to be of little substance, little to no substance, or nightmares. We continue to reinforce and create things that we don't like because it drives us, even when we don't want it to. Without the ability to face it, it's like we never get anything better. The Seven of Hearts is the tree. Growth, grounded, past connection, personal growth, spirituality, health, neutral, 9 months to a year. This thing has been growing for a long time. For a very long time. Before a lot of us were even born. And some of these things that are being changed, it was already established firmly. But hey, it's time to uproot them, and it's time to move on. whatever being established is no excuse. It's no reason to continue to accept the things that we can change. And that's what I got. Happy full moon. This was, well, it isn't necessarily bad. I mean, it's a blue moon on Halloween. So, it ain't necessarily going to be great. Pluto has been such a heavy player this year. And all of these retrogrades and conjunctions, even since last year, right? Because we had the first Jupiter conjunct Pluto and Saturn conjunct Pluto last year, I believe. At the end of last year, maybe. Or the beginning of this year. I'm pretty sure at least the Saturn Pluto conjunction happened last year. I don't remember when the Jupiter Pluto conjunction happened, but lots of things in the space of needing to be addressed before we can move forward, because as long as we're afraid of the things in the dark, it's like we're operating at half capacity. So, free your mind and the rest will follow, right? That's what they say. I'll catch y'all later. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make the better and the best your reality. And sometimes when you do that, you have to face what's uncomfortable and stop running away from it. Because as long as you continue to run, again, your choices and your decisions will be made for you. And you may not even know why. You may not even see how that's the case. You think you'll be brave today. You won't. Hopefully you will, right? But it starts somewhere. It's not just like one day I'm going to wake up and be brave. One day I'm going to wake up and have superpowers or whatever. It's like, no, girl. Those are superhuman abilities based off of an ability. You never know if you can fly or not if you don't try. Now, I ain't telling people to go out there and try to fly or jump off buildings or whatever. But it's like we play it so small. We get so breadcrumbed because, again, our decisions are made for us because of what we're so easily willing to accept on a more collective level beyond just a face mask. Right? Look at everything else happening and going down in the world. None of it is new. It's all happened before. We just continue to accept it, or we continue to turn a blind eye to it, and nothing ever changes. Nothing ever gets better. And it's like, a person who continues to make the same mistakes over and over, or a person who is a certain type of way, and then we get annoyed or mad or upset, and like, why is that person like that? It's because they've never been held accountable for being anything more or different. Don't be that person. Grow, look at it, face it, move on. It's Halloween, people. Let's let's get over it. Let's exercise and help these ghosts of the past cross over. Right.